I don't hear of any. I don't see of any, but there may be somebody out there. If there is, please speak up. Hearing none, I'll move to the minutes for the last meeting, April 1st, 2024. Looking for a motion to accept.
Move to accept.
Move to accept by David Moore. Thank you.
Second.
Mr. Chairman,
And second by, I think it was
Mike.
Bill Clegg. All
Mr.
those in
Chair.
favor?
Oh,
Aye.
Mr. Chairman.
There's discussion.
Yes, this is David Parasol with O&G. Reading the meeting minutes from the last report in item 38, Articles C, O&G's report. It's noted that O&G began phase 3A on March 3rd. The date is actually April 10th, not March 3rd.
What line is that?
Line 40, 41,
Line 40. Okay.
41.
Okay, 41, I'm reading turned over in early to mid-June. O&G will begin on phase 3A by Wednesday, 3/3/2024. So what are you saying?
It should be April 10th,
Not March 3rd?
not March 3rd.
Okay, all right.
And then
Make
the
that-
next sentence,
Go ahead. Make
and
that
then
correct.
the next sentence, line 42, the school will take occupancy of 2A on Monday. It says March 8th.
Yes,
It should be April 8th.
April 8th. Okay, we'll write that off to a typo. Thank you for bringing that up, David. Any other
I will
items by
accept those changes as a friendly amendment so that we don't have to vote on them.
friendly amendment? Okay.
Any other changes?
I don't know of any. Anybody else have any other changes? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll move on to opening up the Latimer Lane project. And we'll start with the reports. I think we'll start with Arcadis's report.
Good evening, everyone. Construction continued throughout the month of April. Most notably, as David Parasol just mentioned, the turnover of phase 2A to the school was completed, and the teachers took occupancy of those classrooms, and we began phase 3A. Included in our report is a 90-day look ahead. O&G will go further into some of the construction activities that took place and are upcoming. Overall, there's been no major budget changes. Currently, we've expended 67.3% of the overall budget, 72.5% of the owner's contingency, and based off of where we're at with O&G's construction billing, they've billed 76.1% to date. And Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're right in line as well with progress as well.
Correct. We're at about 77% complete.
We'll get into some more discussions regarding some FF&E and technology purchase order requests that are upcoming, and that's all I have for tonight. Any other questions or any questions?
Any questions for Arcadis from any members of the committee? None at this point. We'll move on to Tecton's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Justin Hopkins, project manager for Tecton Architects. With me tonight is Rachel Pepin, who I believe was part of your walkthrough earlier this afternoon. We also have Brian Hamill from CES. There are a couple of PCOs that are in the MEPFP category. Brian will be able to explain those. So in your PBC summary for April 2024, we identified the construction RFIs new in April 16, new submittals, new submittals in March April. You have O&G application for payment number 17 as part of your approval packet tonight. We took part in 10 meetings in the month of April. Those included OAC meetings, some ad hoc meetings to discuss PCOs, punch list meetings, as well as meetings. We issued 2 directives. One was a proposal request to add a phone and data connection at the nurse office in order to facilitate an additional person being staffed in that room. And we also issued an ASI for flooring, some floor modifications. In terms of items requiring approval tonight, we talked about the application for payment. PCOs as presented by Arcadis and O&G will be able to explain ones that are up. But very important, FF&E and technology purchase orders is part of your packet this evening as well. You will see and be able to reference an April 24th letter from the Connecticut Department of Administrative Services that basically says Simsbury is approved to go and order this FF&E and technology material. So if you recall back a couple PBC meetings ago, we gave a presentation regarding the FF&E and technology, as well as estimates. That was approved by the PBC. It was subsequently approved by the BOE. We then went through a pre-bid conformance review with the state that culminated in this letter. So we will respectfully ask the PBC to authorize the town to enter into these purchase order agreements so that we can make sure that we get furniture, fixtures, and technology in time for student move-in in the fall.
Okay, thank you, Justin. Are there any questions from the committee members to Tecton at this point? Hearing none, we'll move on to O&G's report.
Good afternoon or good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Over the last month, we have kept going after punch list items, reducing the number from open to ready to inspect. We're working closely with Tecton and Arcadis to continue reviewing and closing them out. Phase 2A was turned over. It's in complete use with the school. Phase 2B, which consists of the media center, the art room, the main hallway, MEP finishes are going in. Interior storefronts and window systems. The frames are going in, the glass is going on. The ceilings have been painted. Sheetrock is complete and painting of the walls will begin very shortly. Ceiling installation is scheduled to begin in a few weeks. I'm sorry, the flooring installation is scheduled to begin in a few weeks, and the ceiling installation started today. For phase 3A, the general demolition is complete. Asbestos abatement is complete. And on a positive note, there's no more anticipated abatement while school is in session. Tonight, the second shift work started. We have a bunch of saw cutting we have to do for trenching inside the building for underground utilities. That has begun tonight. That's probably some of the noise you heard walking around. The MEP roughs have begun. Duct work is up. Sprinkler lines are being run. Electrical conduits and wires being installed. Framing has started on the classrooms. We did have an in-wall inspection today. It passed. We're going to start insulating and sheetrocking tomorrow, installing the sheetrock tomorrow. At this time, there is no site work that is scheduled to start up again towards the middle of June. Currently, right now in the CM contingency, we have $377,196 remaining. In the CM allowances, we have $36,843 remaining. And in the contractor allowances, we have $334,243 remaining. Are there any questions at this point?
Anybody on the committee have a question for David? O&G?
Yeah, I got I got a question, Chair.
Sure, Mike.
How is commissioning being scheduled? Does that happen per phase before turnovers? I'm noticing that there's no bill from the commissioning agent this month. I just want to make sure that they're doing progress commissioning so we don't get locked out of a space.
The commissioning, there are units that are shared throughout phase 1A, phase 2, throughout multiple parts of the school. Some of them are up and running. We had to wait to get other parts of the building completed to turn equipment on. We have done initial, inspections. Paperwork has been signed off, and we're going to do the official commissioning as soon as school lets out for phases 1 and 2, and then finish up 3 around October or so, when all the systems are up and running.
Thank you.
How about the warranties? How about the equipment warranties?
The warranties will start with when the commissioning is signed off on. So even though they're in use, yes, because yes.
Okay, Lucian, any other questions for David? Hearing none, I think we'll move on to the proposed change order. I think the first one is PCO 111 R2. David?
PCO 111. This has to do with removing heat trace on piping from the project and replacing it with a glycol type system. This was a change that CES felt was important and a good way to reduce costs and have the protection that's needed. There was a little bit of negotiations between O&G, the plumbing contractor, and Train, who's the manufacturer of the equipment. And a Train agreed to absorb most of the cost for this. So what we have is a credit from the electrical contractor of $6,398, and that's being transferred over to the plumber, the same amount, $6,398, to cover a certain amount of costs, and then Train is absorbing the remainder. So it is a true no cost to the project for this change. And I think Justin might be able, if there's any deeper questions, Justin can help.
I'll just give the one line because I did ask Brian to join the meeting as well. I will state that this change order first originated as an $18,000 ad, but from conversations between Brian and the manufacturer. Brian, if you want to pick it up from there.
Sure. Yeah. So we had, we worked with Train during this design, and kind of what happened was, this is some newer technology and design approaches. So when we got into the submittal phase, Train kind of had some different approaches they wanted to kind of come back with. One, eliminating the heat trace, and one to go with the glycol system. They just thought it was a better design overall. So we decided to go ahead with that approach, and we just had discussions with Train, knowing that, we had worked with them in design, that they kind of, owned these changes to kind of help out the school and cover these costs. So that's what they ended up doing.
Okay. Anybody have any questions in regard to this modification?
Yeah, I have a few.
Yes, Mike, go ahead.
What system is this for?
This is the domestic water heating system. So it's for the heat pump water heaters.
Okay, and how are we gonna memorialize the impact on maintenance that this is gonna have for the facilities staff, and what's the added maintenance due to having a glycol system?
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit added maintenance, in the glycol system with, the pump and everything. But we are going to save. Before, we were going to have electric heat trace, which we would have been burning a lot more energy and dollars down the line running that than the glycol system.
And Train has calculated the performance impact, and you were all good with.
Correct. Yep. Yes. Yeah, we worked very closely with Train during this whole process.
So you're saying the savings by not using electric is going to offset the cost of additional maintenance over time?
Yeah, I mean, the heat trace used energy. It's also just, from Train getting more experience with these units and having installs, they just felt the glycol is just a better system over time to use as well.
Okay, all right. Any other questions?
I have a question, please.
Yes, Lucian.
How much glycol did you add in?
Did we, in terms of percentage or in terms of
Yes.
volume?
Percentage. I don't care about volume.
Oh, I believe it's 30%.
30%. What happens with the pumps? Do you have
In
to do
term-
anything with pumps? Because you have most viscous, you need more head probably for the pumps.
So, Lucian, that system for this is completely separate than the system we already had in place. So that those pumps were designed, to be on its own with that new system that Train came up with.
So the pumps were designed and sized to handle a glycol solution.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Do we have any way to make up the glycol?
I believe there is a small shot feeder. I'd have to double check those piping diagrams, but I believe there is a small feeder you can add to it. Yes.
Okay. And how do they measure the glycol, the concentration in the system?
They would have to go back and test. There's not a standalone, glyphactometer or anything like that. So they would have to do annual testing of it.
So again, this will be in the O&M and tell them about when they have to check it and what the procedure is.
Yep.
And probably to be part of the training process.
Yep. Just it's same with the other glycol system.
This is glycol goes, where does it go this?
This is just to help with, just because of where the air source heat pump's located outside.
Okay.
Instead of heat tracing those loops, we're using a glycol loop to help with that process for the refrigerant.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay. Any other questions, committee members? Looking for a motion?
Move to approve.
Move to approve, David.
Second.
Second, thank you, Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. We're good to go. Move on to PCO 161R1.
PCO 161 is in reference to Bulletin 44. A few months back, there were some changes made to wall coverings and floor finishes. The painting contractor has a cost of $377. The flooring contractor was $1,983, and the total change order cost is $2,422. It's changes made throughout the school.
So this, I'll fill in here. This is due to relocation of a shift in some of the classroom designated locations to switch with the special education rooms. We were aware of this change and caught up with some of the finishes in order to align with the grade level learning communities. So we needed to make a modification to specifically the flooring, at which time there was additional flooring that needed to be purchased, and the remainder will be turned over to attic stock to the owner.
Turned over added stock. What do you mean added stock? What's going to be turned over for added stock?
Additional flooring material for replacement in the future. So
okay, all right, because there's some other
every
change orders.
material and every finish, there's a certain amount of what's called attic stock that gets turned over to the owner for future maintenance.
Sure.
And in a change like this, where there's already flooring that's purchased, that will also become part of the attic stock.
Okay. Any questions in regard to PCO 161 from the committee?
I have a question for Justin.
Yep.
This attic stock, Justin, is there room in the building for the attic stock?
Yes, we've discussed with both Principal Lizzetti And Jason and Neil regarding where this is going to be. We do have some areas that are in the existing basement that the attic stock will be located.
Thank you.
Yep. No problem, Lucian.
Looking for a motion, if there's no other questions.
So moved.
Second.
Didn't catch who that was.
Bill is motion.
Okay, thank you, Bill. And
I think
second.
David seconded it.
Oh, David, second, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. We'll move on to PCO 181, in the amount of $17,449.
PCO 181, it's in reference to Bulletin 70, where this manifested from during the punch list walkthrough of Phase 1B. It was noted in one of the SE rooms that there wasn't, I guess, teacher wall technology. Further conversations took place with the team, Principal Izzetti. It was decided to add it in. And other areas throughout the school, there were some additional technologies added in as well. There was some negotiations back and forth and conversations between CES, the contractor, Tecton, and us, and the total comes in at $17,449.
So this is frankly a result of us undershooting the quantity of teaching interactive display and teaching stations. And as we have been reviewing the locations for interactive displays with Principal Izzetti and his team for incorporation into the FF&E and technology budget, we needed to make the modification to add some additional power and data and AV connections. So Brian, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to this one.
No, I think you pretty much covered that one, Justin. Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, Justin, I had a question there. Isn't that something that comes up during the space programming of the needs for each, room and each area of the renovation project as we develop the program?
So if you're asking if I wish we had have captured it in the documents to begin with, yes. I can tell you that there have been some areas that we've added, some areas that we frankly assumed that it was there and was not.
Okay.
And some areas that Principal Izzetti assumed it was there and we didn't, and we needed to capture them. The critical part is that we need to make sure that every area that the teachers need to have the interactive displays, they have them. So that's what this.
I agree with that thinking, and I just wanted to clarify. So it's not that the Board of Education added more stuff on, it just was not clear as it perhaps could have been exactly where all of these wall boards or teaching boards or teaching walls were supposed to be. Is that correct?
Partially correct. Yeah, there's some of that, and there's some of simply we just added some additional locations.
So they did add some. Okay, all right. And I have a question for David on this one. David, in my packet, which is a paper packet, I have a PCO 181 that looks very similar to the PCO 181 RI. The previous 181 RI is $17,449, which we're discussing now. But the next change order that's not numbered in my packet is, as I described, PCO 181 is for $18,890. Now, is that a rough draft for the proposal tonight, or is that something else? Because the wording is almost identical.
That's something else. 181 R1 is the correct one, $17,449. The
Okay, so
180
what's this?
The 181 was included as backup to the PCO to show the revisions that it went through when we were reviewing it as a team through Tecton, CES, Arcadis, and ONG. So in hindsight, they should have had a slash through them so that you knew that they weren't,
So we don't need to discuss this $18,890 job here. Because
Correct.
No.
it has become the $17,449 job.
Correct.
Correct.
It's
Okay, just want to make sure that that is
It's-
the way it
it's
is before we
back up to
vote on
show
it.
it was back up to show the iterations for the members and the comments that
Great.
were originally
Great.
provided.
Any other questions in regard to this change order for $17,449 from the committee members? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, David.
Second.
And I heard a second. I think that was Mike Egan.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries for $17,449. Move on to the next change order, PCO 206, the amount of $5,134. David, if you would.
Yep,
Sure.
PCO 206. This is in corridor 220. It's where the new concrete ramp is outside of the media center. There's that long CMU wall. That wall was buried behind existing lockers and other wall coverings. There was no way to fully understand the condition of the wall. So as it became exposed, seeing all the holes and penetrations in the wall, the discussion became, do we try to fix and repair and beautify the wall? It is a mix of CMU and cinder block. So even the painting wouldn't look presentable when it's all said and done. And it was decided to attach sheetrock drywall to the wall, tape it, and paint it. I did receive a credit from the mason contractor for $2,642. And the cost for the gypsum install is $7,644. And the total cost is $5,134.
Okay, any comments or questions from members of the committee?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just quickly, on page 14, under that PCO, the wording does not match the dollar value. The wording is incorrect, referring to $848.
Okay, I don't see that on my document, but that's okay. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Anybody else see that same situation that Tom's talking about?
It's just on the cover.
Yeah, just on the cover.
The correct value is $5,134.
Okay, so we've confirmed the correct value is $5,134. Moving forward with the motion, if there is one to come.
Move to approve.
Thank you,
PC
David. And somebody seconded it.
Ryan.
All those in favor, that was Mike. Thank you, Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll move on to PCO 207 in $0.
PCO 207, the flooring contractor, as part of his contract, is to put down craft paper on his finished flooring to provide protection. The flooring was finished pretty early in phase 1A. There's still a certain amount of work to be done, and I decided to upgrade it to what's called ram board. It's a much heavier duty kind of cardboard material. It lasts and is much more durable. We decided to use it throughout phase 1A and 1B. And the total cost for the upgrade is $881. And I'm pulling it from the CM contingency.
Any questions for David on this? Looking for a motion?
So moved. Oh, second.
Okay. Second for David Moore and moved by Mike Egan. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll move on to change order 209 in the amount of $3,332.
PCO 209 is an extension of a earlier bulletin that was issued. It's with the stage that we had to tear down and rebuild. It's where 2 gang bathrooms are located. This is rooms 154, 156. It's a janitorial storage in a little hallway. The VCT was added into this space, and the cost is $3,332.
So I will pick it up from there just to describe. So as part of in the course of demolition, as you may have recalled, we needed to rebuild the areas of the platform that had combustible framing underneath it. When we provided this change, reflooring of 2 spaces with VCT was part of this change. It was simply not captured in that previous one. Otherwise, you would have reviewed it a couple months ago.
So this is coming from, this is value added is what you're saying then, because it's coming from our contingency?
Yes.
Right, okay. Thank you, Justin. Any questions in regard to this change order from committee members? Looking for a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, David.
Second.
Ryan Burns, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We'll move to change order 210, PCO 210 in the amount of $21,401.
20 PCO 210 and CES can help explain this a little further. During the walkthrough with the fire marshal, he questioned some of the EPCs, which is emergency power for lighting in rooms that don't have exterior windows. There were some discussions back and forth of what really need to happen and be required. Through the final discussions, we had some RFIs providing clarification, and the cost for the ads or the changes is $21,401.
So this is under the category of different interpretations from the authority having jurisdiction upon a walkthrough of the spaces. Brian, if you want to add any
Sure.
color to this. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So, usually in all those rooms, we provide an EPC device, which is kind of a emergency power control relay, which pretty much overrides all the lighting control in case of an emergency that turns all the light on. Normally we don't provide it in rooms under 300 square feet because it's not provided by code. Per this walkthrough, it was recommended that it was wanted. So we kind of went back and forth with the fire marshal. We went back with him because he wanted it in the smaller rooms and then also in the toilet rooms as well. We got him to agree that we didn't need it in the smaller toilet rooms, but he still wanted to add it in the other areas of the building. So that's kind of where this came from.
Okay, Justin, I have a question for you. So this is in rooms that have no exterior windows?
Correct.
Okay, this is not in rooms that have windows that don't open.
Correct.
Correct. What this does is in emergency.
This is no windows at all, no glass.
Yeah, because in an emergency, it overrides the controls and turns all the lights on. So the thinking was if there was a light with no room or windows, there wouldn't be any, it would be dark.
Okay, because there'll be a further discussion tonight about rooms that have windows that don't open. But I just want to be clear that we're talking about rooms that have no glass at all in them.
Correct.
Of any kind. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's
okay.
correct.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. And back to the fire marshal. We've been here before. Any questions from any other members of the committee?
I was going to make the point that
Sure.
these plans were reviewed by the fire marshal, and they decided to change their mind.
Yes, and the walkthrough is the final determining factor in what we end up doing with these schools. And I know that Justin has in the past has worked diligently to get all the information, Brian as well, and communicate as best as they possibly can with the fire marshal, and they think that they've got it covered, and most of the time they do, but we're back here again, and it's the final walkthrough, and it's his final decision. So it is what it is. All I can say is it's safe, and that's what's important, even though it costs more money. Any other comments in regard to this change order? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you very much. We go on to change order 212, which is final $0. But go ahead, David.
PCO 212, it is being funded from the CM contingency. It's for additional masonry work throughout the phases of 2A, and some into 2B. There are a lot of walls that were, certain assumptions were made for what kind of masonry work was going to be done as part of their contract. But when walls started becoming exposed, hidden behind lockers and other wall coverings, the extent of the work was more than what was anticipated. So it is a cost of $4,818, and it's being funded from the CM contingency.
Any questions in regard to this change order, PCO 212, committee members? Looking for a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Ryan first and David second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we move on to change order number 9, which I don't know if Jason Casey has picked up. Is he on Zoom with us tonight?
Yes,
I
he
am.
is.
He's working remotely tonight. I thought he was going to be here. Jason?
He
I
is.
am.
Are you?
I
Okay.
am. Hello.
You were going to provide us with some language for this credit.
Yeah, this is for electronic equipment, wiring, and labor that was determined to be not needed due to keeping the building in line with the design of the other schools.
Okay, and that gives us a credit of $11,533.
That's correct.
That's correct. And that'll be applied towards a general project.
Yes.
Any questions from community members about this? Hearing none, I look for a motion.
So moved.
David, thank you. Second?
Second.
Second, John. Very good. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We'll take the credit of $11,533. Moving on to PCO 214, cost of $2,499. David?
PCO 214 is reference to Bulletin 75. There is a request from the school to change the flooring in break room or break area 107. It is a cost of $2,499. All the flooring has been purchased for the project, so a change like this requires additional purchase, but the attic stock, all the extra material will go to the school's attic stock.
Yeah. Now, David, the carpet, how much carpet are we talking that's going to end up going into the attic stock here? I mean, is that going to be a burden to them? Should they?
Well, I haven't looked at it yet. Usually it's 5 to 10% is what becomes attic stock.
Yeah, but you're going to have a whole carpet here because you're not putting carpeting in. You're going to put linoleum in.
Correct.
It's about, Mr. Chair, it's about 150 square feet of it. It is not
Okay.
broadloom, so it's not,
Right.
it's not a big roll. It's plank.
Right. Okay. It's
it'll
not
come in
50
boxes.
yards of material
No.
here. Okay.
Right.
All right. Just
Right.
want to be clear that we don't have have to open up a carpet
A
restore.
warehouse, right?
Yeah, right. For other schools that come and buy our leftover products. Okay, great. Any other questions about this change? Looking for a motion to accept.
So moved.
Thank you, David.
Second.
Second, Ryan, very good. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we move on to the final change order of the night, which is only 11 change orders, so that's a good sign. We're doing better, I think. So that's in $3,034, change order 216.
PCO 216 is in reference to Bulletin 81. I guess the school's added an additional nurse, so this is for the power and data lines for her workstation. $3,034.
I can't vouch for whether or not the school has technically added a nurse yet. However, there's the desire to be able to, at least in the future, or perhaps when the school opens, to have 2 staff members in the nurse's office.
Okay. Duly noted. Any other questions? Looking for a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, David.
Second.
Second.
Second, Ryan. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. We're done with change orders at this time, and I think we'll move over to the FF&E discussion, technologies, purchase orders, et cetera. I don't know if Jason, if you're gonna spearhead this, Jason Casey.
I can help you out, Jason, as well.
Okay, Arcadis, go for it.
Sorry about that.
Let's get to that page here.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
All right, so for the biggest one, the one that's over $1.1 million is for the almost the entirety of the FF&E package. The vendor is Meteor Education. You have a quote dated after the approval from the state. So the quote date is April 25th, 2024, and the amount is $1,127,688.45. Justin, this is for the entirety of the FF&E package. Justin,
This is reflective of the cost estimate that we had provided when this body approved the FF&E and technology package. In all of the numbers that you're going to be reviewing tonight there, the numbers are what we presented within budget for FF&E and technology.
Okay, thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
Any questions from committee members about this package? I'll look for a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, David.
Second.
Second, I think that
Second.
was Mike, or that was Bill. That was Bill
Bill.
Clegg, I guess. Okay, thank you, Bill. All right. Any other questions about this? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. The motion carries. Thank you. Jason, if you want to take pains in the next one.
I can do all of them. So
okay.
Pains is the school's, I believe, who they use for dumpsters. We got a dumpster for phase 2A turnover. Anything that was pulled out of the building that could be trashed was thrown into these dumpsters. So you have an invoice which we got to open up a purchase order for. So it's dated April 15th, 2024 for Pains and in the amount of $454.60. And there will be more coming as we reach the summer, and a lot of I shouldn't say a lot of, a good amount of stuff will be trashed that is broken and can't be repurposed in other spaces.
And this is not construction related material. This is school material.
Correct.
Right. That's why it's with the FF&E. Just to make that clear to all the committee members. Looking for a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we move on to Rusty Kiln.
Rusty Kiln, estimate or quote dated April 24th, 2024. The cost is for, the Rusty Kiln to, move the kiln back into the final destination, which is the art room, and hook up the electrical and venting, to the already installed electrical, and venting that the construction project put in. So this is for the cost of $300 for them to do that.
Okay, all right. Looking for a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you both.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we move on to the $42,000 item.
This is for TRC, which is the environmental consultant for the project. They are in testing of the abatement and whatnot. So you have a change order in front of you dated April 26, 2024, in the amount of $42,428. This is the projected cost for the remainder of the project. So what's left of phase three. The current purchase order amount is $29,500, so we would be increasing it by $42,428, and it would bring this. They already have one purchase order that's been closed out, so this would bring their second purchase order up to just over 75,000.
Okay, so tonight we're voting on the $42,428, correct?
Correct, for increase number one to
And
current invoice.
so the total that they've spent, or we've spent with them so far, is approximately $71,000 and change. Is that going to bring us to the end of the entire project?
Yes, this last change order projects
Okay,
through the end of the
just want to
project.
verify that. Okay, any other questions from committee members?
Yeah, we've discussed this before. Is that the same cost? It just never got approved, or is this
No,
another change order?
The previous cost was a change order for phase two only. So it was for 7 weeks, which we approved either in the November or the December PBC meeting. So those were costs for 7 weeks, which began early December and was for phase two, which ran through mid to late January.
Thought we were told that that was for the rest of the project. I may be misremembering some of the details, but it seems like they just keep coming back. This is a pot that they reach out to every time. You know, we can't really have them on a T&M basis if they're not going to tell us the cost, because we can't control costs. And this is definitely not the first time that it's come up.
Understood, and they've verified that this change order should get them through the remainder of this project for phases 3.
How does
John.
the total cost so far compared to what we had figured for this?
But overall will end up being over what was originally budgeted by, I would say, $15,000 to $20,000. Based off of other projects, what we've compared to, though, what we've been seeing, we're not over what typical projects are spending on these services.
So if
Yeah,
we're
I
not,
thought last time we approved, I believe it was said that there was gonna be one more adjustment. So I mean,
That's what I thought I remembered too.
Money anticipated, yeah.
Remember the same.
so going back to Arcadis,
So
Zach.
the budget that we carried was just over $84,000. Let's call it 85. We've currently spent 82, and this again would increase that to about 120, 125, and that will get us through the end of the project.
So that means we're over budget by $40,000?
Correct.
Okay. So you were
I
saying
wanna point
earlier,
out, that's 50%.
I'm getting there. Okay, so back to Zach for a second, if I can have the floor. you said that the numbers that we've been getting from this company, TRC, are not that far out of line with what it should be costing, but you're telling us that our estimate was very, very low, and we just heard 50% low. I mean, that seems like a big number. So how do you justify that?
Yeah, I can't personally speak to, how the budget was created, during pre-construction. What I can say is that, as we know, services, the cost of services can change with time. This wasn't something that was bid on and the price locked in at the beginning of the project. So, we're seeing this phase by phase change order. And we're over what was budgeted. Again, I can't speak back to pre-construction and how that budget number.
Who came up with that number, 80,000?
Excuse me, if I know there was some change in the phasing in order to help out moving of the students in the school. Does that have any impact on the amount of time the abatement took? I'm just.
I'll jump in here, Zach, just because there are some other mitigating factors. Phasing definitely is one. It's not uncommon for baseline grant applications or project budgets to not necessarily align with phasing, with a construction manager's phasing plan for a project. If anything, probably should have revisited those global project numbers as a project team. However, there have also been some additional contaminated material that has been uncovered throughout demolition. Some areas that are in between, frankly, in between CU and steel columns, we have asbestos material. They're pulling off some of the existing boards. Instead of glue daubs, there's basically a whole mud area. So we know that we've experienced some increase in costs for the actual removal of material. Whether or not that has a one-to-one relationship of the extended time, I don't think it does, but it does have some play into it. But definitely the sequencing of the project, the phase turnover, the additional partial phase turnovers to help the students move into other parts of the building ahead of schedule probably has some play in this overage by the abatement monitor.
One other question, just curious, did the rates change significantly over the last year and a half? Because, I mean, the way a lot of people's rates were bumped.
Let me,
Jack, I don't know if you want to do that. I know the bid, the monitor is holding their bid numbers or their prices, correct?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So in a roundabout way, we're getting value added, even though we're not getting any value added because we're tearing stuff out. You see, we had more bad stuff that we had to get rid of than we anticipated, and we're getting rid of more bad stuff, which is a value in itself, I guess, is what you're saying, I guess.
Correct.
Okay. All right. That's where I'm at. Any other questions in regard to this change order for $42,400 and is that $28?
Yep.
Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
David. Second, Ryan. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so I think that is Jason there. I
There
think
is
that
not.
takes care of all the technology purchase order requests. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, is that correct, Zach?
So are we moving on to the technology purchase orders? Is that what you were saying?
Okay, all right. Yes, I didn't know if this was bundled together with that or not. So we'll move on to the technology purchase order requests.
Yeah, so we can go through each purchase order individually, and then you do one motion to approve all 9 purchase orders at the end. If we so choose to, that'll make it a little easier.
Right.
Just give me a second. And
What page are these on in the packet?
starts on 109. Oh, I'm sorry. It starts on 130.
139?
Yeah,
Mine starts at 139, whatever that means.
Mine's in 109.
137 is what I have.
Yeah, 141 is part of it, so we're in the ballpark. What's the
Alright.
proposal? Is that from Apple Store?
The first one should be for Amazon.com.
Amazon.com.
Mr.
What's the
Chair,
amount?
they're all listed in summary on page 109. The
Yes.
non-technology POs.
That's what I'm looking at.
Backup.
Yeah,
The backup
yeah.
is subsequent.
Okay, Amazon.com for, so $59 and change?
$659.68.
Okay, all right. All right, explain, please.
Yeah, I can run through everything. So
Yep, go ahead.
the quote is dated April 30th, 2024 from Amazon.com in the amount of $659.68. This is for the cost of 2 drones and 10 iPad covers.
Okay. Next.
The next one is from the Apple Store for Education Institution, quote dated May 1st, 2024 in the amount of $2,940, and this is for the purchase of 10 iPads.
Okay.
The next one is from Barina USA, quote dated April 30th, 2024 in the amount of $2,422.64.
Mhm.
This is the cost of a sewing machine and shipping. Right, that's, yep, sewing machine. The next one is from Bloom USA, quote dated 4/24/2024 in the amount of let me correct that. It's Bloom USA, quote dated April 30th, 2024 no, I was right the first time.
Yes.
April 24th, 2024 in the amount of $7,975, and this is for the 55 is this the teacher computers?
Yes. Yes.
Yep. Okay. The next one is from Creality, quote dated April 30th, 2024 in the amount of $488, and this is for the cost of 2 3D printers. The next one is from Cricut, quote dated April 30th, 2024, and this is for the cost of 2 Cricut machines. The next one is May 1st, 2024. The vendor is E Plus, and the cost is $540.39. And Justin, Jason, you might have a better idea of what exactly is in this
Sure.
quote.
The short answer is this is the wiring closet network gear. So switches, routers, UPS.
Right. The next one is from Lego Education, quote dated April 30th, 2024 in the amount of $5,049, and this is the cost for a Lego Education Spike Essential Class Pack. And then the last one is from Star Educational Systems, quote dated April 30th, 2024 in the amount of $3,999 for a Z-Space Inspire AR/VR experience.
I think that number has to be amended to include shipping.
That's another one, okay.
The shipping on that was $23.64.
All right.
So including the shipping, what is the total cost for all 9 of those items?
1 second, I will give you that. The total for all 9 purchase orders for the various vendors is $90,095.35.
Okay, Jason, is that correct?
Yes, that's what I'm getting.
Okay, looking for a motion to accept the technology purchase orders that add up to 90,000, all 9 vendors, $90,095.35.
So moved.
So moved.
David and Ryan, thank you both. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. I think we're done with those items. I think that I'd like to go back to Justin and well, let's take a look at this. Let's do the payments, and then we'll go back to Justin to talk about the windows. Okay, so invoices. Start off with the invoice for Arcadis, I believe, is the first one. In the amount of $13,318. The invoice date is April 29th, 2024. The invoice number is 34431493. Any questions? Looking for a motion for this invoice?
Move to approve.
Thank you,
Or
David.
second.
Second, John Salvatore. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we go to Tecton's invoice in the amount of $28,498. Dated 4/30/2024, invoice number 7174, is that correct? 4717.
7176.
76, thank you. I can't catch that number there. My paperwork is not as clear as I'd like it to be. Anyway, all those in favor?
Oh,
Well, let me get a
Motion.
motion, sorry. Yeah, motion to approve, sorry. Thank you, David. Second? Second, Mike. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. We have 4 invoices, I think, from Myers. I wish they could send us one invoice. I think I'm just gonna vote on all 4. I'll read off the numbers and we'll vote once. The first one is invoice dated 3/31/24 in the amount of $88. The second one is I'm looking for the date. Okay, the date is 4/30/24 in the amount of $105.60. I guess it's a duplicate. There's only 2 invoices. Anybody else have any more invoices from Myers? I only have 2.
Mr. Chair, there's a total of 4 invoices. It's over the course. One's for the month of March and one's for the month of April. The reason they're separate is because one's an eligible cost and one's an ineligible cost. I can read off all the data and we can approve it as one motion. So the first one is dated March 31st, 2024, invoice number 220-055230 in the amount of $88. The second one is dated March 31st, 2024, invoice number 220-055231 in the amount of $105.60. Third one is dated April 30th, 2024, invoice number 220-056127 in the amount of $88. And the fourth one is April 30th, 2024, invoice number 220-056128 in the amount of $105.60. The total for those is $387.20 for the 4 Myers invoices.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Thank you, David. Second, second, Mike Egan. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
I'm going to
Last-
abstain. I
I'm sorry?
abstain.
If
I
you like.
recuse myself on those invoices.
Sure, if you'd like, put it in the record.
I'm working with Meyer on other stuff, so I'm recusing myself.
Okay, all right. Thank you for the disclosure. Going to the
I'm
final
sorry, who was
invoice.
that?
Bill Clegg.
I'm sorry?
Bill, okay, thank you.
Going to the final invoice for O&G, which is invoice or application number 17 dated 4/30/24 in the amount of $736,462.73. Looking for a motion?
So moved.
Mike, thank you, Mike.
Second.
And David, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions or nays? Hearing none, the motion carries. Okay, all right. Before we let go of the Latimer Lane project, I'd like to speak to Justin about our walkthrough today at Latimer Lane. Are you there, Justin?
I'm here, and Rachel filled me in on
Okay,
a couple.
all right. Well, I was very disappointed to discover that 3 of the rooms that are, not done, but they're on their way to being done, have new windows in them that do not open as we had agreed on way back in the design phase of the project. I look back at some of my notes, and it's crystal clear to me that I brought it up on 3 separate occasions, and on the 3rd occasion, I was told that, don't worry, Mr. Durr, we're going to have at least one window in every classroom or every room that opens for egress purposes. And so we have to fix these windows.
Yep, we're going, since Rachel let me know, I've gone back through, I understand the 3 that you're looking at. I'm reviewing the shop drawings to see where those slip
Okay.
through the cracks.
And the other item is that there was also a discussion, I think that Lucian had brought it up as part of the solution, because I know that the engineers are concerned about the HVAC systems, that there would be alarms on the windows that do open so that they wouldn't be inadvertently left open during heavy cooling or heavy heating days or weeks or months. And I was told today by Arcadis that somehow that was eliminated.
So we do not have monitors on, we don't have contacts on the windows, but Brian, if you can kind of indicate the items that we do have in place.
Yep. Yeah. So we don't have actual sensors on the windows, but we do have humidity sensors that will sense the humidity in the space. And if it gets, too high, it will shut down the control valve to the unit. And we also have condensate sensors, on the coil as well, that if there's condensate that forms, it should also shut down those valves as well. So there are a
Now,
couple of
wasn't
safeguards in
the
place, even on the
original
windows.
discussion that we had, Brian, that there were going to be alarms on those windows that would alarm, whoever the operators were, that they needed to close those windows?
It was always in agreement that, and with any chilled beam job, there needs to be a way to shut down the chilled beams in a case of the humidity rising, whether it's a window sensor or the, the alarms that we have in place now.
So if, Lucian, if you would weigh in on this for me, because I know this is your area of expertise, how does that sound to you?
It's fine. I don't have a problem with
Okay, so we're good as long as we have these other controls that are not alarms. But it would be helpful, Brian, that in the future, when we're talking at an open meeting about having alarms, not every member of the committee is an HVAC expert. We all have our areas of expertise.
Sure.
It would have been helpful if you or someone on your team had brought it to the attention of the building committee that, just to be clear, we're not going to have alarms, quote unquote, on the doors or the windows like we had entertained. We're going to have other controls that are going to work just as well. And then, some of my frustrations would have been avoided today on the walkthrough.
Yep.
And I'll be looking
understand.
to Justin at the very earliest opportunity that you can contact the committee about the windows that need to be changed out
Sure.
and how we're going to handle that, Justin.
Yep.
Okay, that would be a big help.
Great.
I think there's only one other item. I'll just add we have one other item or two items on our agenda, but before I go there, any other questions or comments from any other members of the committee?
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
On the window sensor question, are there any alarms in place to prevent an issue with freezing if a window's left open in the heating season?
Temperature in the space would drop and there'd be alarm that would go off eventually. Yes.
Okay.
And then we
For
approved.
what
a
it's
lot
worth,
of-
Mike, our custodians go through and verify every window's closed every night before they lock up the building.
Oh, that's better than an alarm.
It's a human alarm.
We approved a lot of owners, FF&E and technology packages. Are we in a good place with what we carried and what's left to be purchased?
For the FF, I'll speak regarding the FF&E and technology. Everything that was presented to you today was within the original budget. The only things that are remaining are the items that we're required to bid. So interactive displays, and I believe there are a couple of lingering furniture items that will be out on the street. So far, everything is, we're within budget on those.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that we will have two of those bids coming to you in the next meeting. So one is for the smart panels, one are for a handful of technology items. But just so you're aware, that's going to be at the next meeting.
Thank you, Jason. Any other questions or comments about Latimer Lane? Well, thank you all for being here as part of the Latimer Lane team. And I think we'll move on to our last two items of the agenda. We have a Terrafill roof project invoice and a central roof project invoice.
The architect has gone through PCR review with the state, and that's what this work entails.
Okay, so we have a invoice here from Jakuski Homes for May 1st, 2024, invoice number 24121. And the balance on the total fee is $4,950. Is that correct, Jason?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. And so that's for both schools?
There's an invoice for Terrafill and an invoice for Central.
Okay, I only have one invoice here. Well, we'll go with that invoice and then you can give me the other one. This one here is for the Central School. Invoice number 24121, $4,950. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Thank you, John. All those in favor?
I have a clarification on that. I think that's the remainder on it. I don't think that's what the bill is for.
Yes, you're right. It's $990.
Pulling that up now.
990.
Okay, all right. We'll amend the motion. I need someone to make an amendment to the motion.
Move to amend the motion that the payment is the total due now of $990.
Thank you. Second. I heard a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, the motion carries. There is another invoice here. I don't have it. I'll look to Jason.
It's page 322 in the packet is the Terrafill invoice.
I'll make the motion to approve invoice number 24120 to Jahunski Humes in the amount of $1,710 on the
Second.
Terrafill School project.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
Mike, and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Okay, I think that unless there's any new business or old business that anyone wants to discuss quickly. Do I hear? any
Mr.
from the
Chairman?
committee members?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is Bill Clegg.
Yes, Bill.
I'd like us to, and maybe we need to have some discussion about this, but to consider whether we, now that we're more post-COVID, do our meetings in person. And those who need to video in can video in.
I think that can work. I think we just have to verify with Tom Roy that we have the capacity, because it's a little different how they set it up. I'm not going to pretend to know the details or the technique or the technology, but I know that in the past it seems to be sometimes easier to do all or nothing. But we can certainly try to do the hybrid, which is what I've been told we have the ability to do.
Yeah, I can get you some information on that.
Okay, all right. So if you could get back to us and let us know how that'll work, that would be helpful.
The other one before we wrap up, and I know it's been a long night, I didn't know if you wanted to announce the resignation of
The
David.
resignation.
Yep.
Of our committee member.
Yes.
I don't have that letter in front of me. Do you have it?
I have the key fact is David Soskin had to resign, and that was effective April 29th. And I believe it's a DTC is now looking for a replacement and working with the Board of Selectmen on that.
Okay, all right. Thank you for the update, Tom. Any other new information or old business anybody has?
Mr. Chairman, just one thing. Before we had started the meeting, I had commented about how when I get a large package, it can be very difficult for me to print certain portions of it. And it was suggested that perhaps if we could have the action items like the PCOs, the invoices, et cetera, be sent separately so that those can be printed up without, it sometimes takes me over an hour to get things printed up when I'm dealing with a 330-page package.
I second the request.
You're saying the same
I'll
thing,
triple
Mike?
it. I'll
Okay,
triple it.
so we got 3 people that are asking for that. Now, Jason, are you able to spearhead this?
Yeah,
Divide up the packet?
Yes, I can break this into the original packet and then have 2 separate documents, the minutes and the order summaries.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing is that if we have the minutes and the, you're calling them the order summaries, which I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, but the PCOs and the invoices versus the level of backup.
Yeah.
John, Salvatore?
Yeah, I think the thing that most people want is the change orders separately. I think that's what everybody's after. Like the reports, Arcadis's report, those can be part of the package, but people want to just be able to print out those changes and look at them.
David, do you want Arcadis's report? David Moore?
Essentially, all I want is for the agenda, the minutes, and the action items that we need to be moving on be separate from the main report, which has all the backup.
Okay, okay, I think we're saying
So
the same
another way to
thing then,
say this
everybody?
is, can I just say, another way to say this is things like the schedule and the photographs and all the backup is what bogs down us trying to open these and print them. So if we can have the minutes, the PCOs, and whatever invoices we need to, or whatever other pieces we need to approve in a separate document, I think that's the best way to go.
And Jason, if you can,
Jason, do we have the ability to keep all the documents separate and just have them as attachments and you send out a link with all the attachments as separate documents? That way there people can click into the invoice package, the PO package, the PCO package, even, O&G's monthly report is quite a few pages. So if we keep them all separately, people can click into them quite quickly. Is that an option?
We can, but that PCO package is still going to be a pretty unwieldy document.
Yeah, if I could just be clear. So Dave, when you say the backup, a lot of the paper is associated with the backup for the particular change orders. So you're saying you only want, for instance, the summary sheet of the change orders. You don't want every sub's proposal and all of their pricing information. Is it when you say backup, is that what you're referring to?
That
We're
is
still going to get it. It's just a separate document.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's what he's referring to. He just wants the front sheet.
correct.
Yeah.
And the architect's bulletins too take up a huge amount of space.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
part of the backup, part of all of that stuff, right?
We like seeing all that. It's just hard to pull it up over Google Drive.
In one document, right?
Correct.
That's actually what I do for these meetings personally. I have those cover sheets on a separate piece of paper for myself.
Then does that.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I like to look at the backup because that's where the pricing information is. That's, we kind of know what
You're still going to get it.
you're being charged.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll still be in the pack.
I'll
okay,
still
I
be
think we'll have
reviewing
a
that
variety
stuff.
pack, a variety pack concept, and people can just kind of pick out what they want, and we'll get to the meeting. So if I guess Zach and Jason can work on that, we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best.
Okay.
Okay, David?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All moved.
Second.
Seconded. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Not listening. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for tonight's meeting. Looking forward to seeing you again in the near future.